Hello and welcome to episode 36 of Things I Learned from Barry Harris. Today I thought we would keep on the idea of working on movement, and in this episode we'll discuss the movement of the 1 chord to the 4 minor chord. Now sometimes there's the 1 chord to the 1 dominant to the 4 major to the 4 minor, which happens in songs, but other times there's just the 1 chord, which is major, into the 4 minor. Now the way Barry likes to look at it, if we did in the key of C, the chords that you're comping are like C major and then F minor 7, would be the 4 minor. But Barry thinks of that as C major scale, and we'll decide how long we're going to do them for in a second. And then for F minor 7, he sees that as B flat 7. So there's your 2 scales that you have to know. Now depending on how long the actual chord change is, this is where it gets a little bit, you have to become familiar with how to feel how long it is. For instance, if we were taking Charlie Parker's Yardbird Suite, which starts on the 1 chord, right away it goes into it. So it's a measure of C major, and then right away a measure into F minor, or Barry thinks of a measure of B flat 7. So if we were going to do the scales to that little first part, it would just be C major up, and then right away B flat 7 up. Now that gets you into the mindset of what you have to play. So let's just take Yardbird Suite for a second, and we'll say, okay, so how do you tackle playing that movement from 1 to 4 minor? So one way that Barry likes to do it is he'll say, okay, well, what 2 notes of this surround this, or what 2 notes of the C major scale. So if we take, for instance, in C major, we'll take the 3 and the 5. Now the note that surrounds would be the 4 of the C major, true, but it would also be the 5 of the B flat 7, or the tonic of the F minor, but we'll just think of it as 5. Now, one of the important things that he talks about is on a dominant, again, we've reviewed these in one of the earlier episodes, there's important arpeggios, and what he considers an arpeggio is a triad with the bottom note repeated on top. Those are arpeggios. So what he says is, on a dominant, there's an important arpeggio found on the 5. And that 5, that important arpeggio, is a minor arpeggio. So keeping that in mind, if we said, and we ended on this, we could conceivably say, okay, well, let's just come down the arpeggio. So there's a phrase already. So if we say 1, 2, 3, so I ended by saying, and then I ended the 6 of the B flat 7, came down to the 5, and then I came down to the 3rd of C major, because now we're already back to C major. So we played C major for a measure, we played F minor 7 for a measure, or B flat 7 for a measure, and then we played back into C major. So if we try it, 1, 2, 3. But that little movement is what I want you to try to focus on. Another thing, let's say if we came up a triad from the 5. So let's try that one. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. So now I came down, I surrounded the tonic, and then I came down a chord from the 2nd of the B flat 7. And I could have added 2 more notes, and maybe did it twice, and then ended on the 5th of C major. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So now we're using the things that we know for C major and the things that we know for B flat 7. So maybe let's do 5. So let's see what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was nice. So when we finished 5, now once we get to the 2 of the C major, that's already now the 3 of the B flat 7. So I just played down to the flat 7th of the B flat 7. So let's try that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we'll finish it up with, which would be 6, 5, 6, and then sliding into the major third of the C major. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm hearing in my head is this. See, I'm hearing that in my head. So I'm feeling one measure of C major, one measure of F minor 7, or one measure of B flat 7, or 2 beats of F minor 7 to B flat 7, but it's still the same sound to me. So I try to create phrases from exactly that. Let's say we start on the 3 of the C major, right on the first beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would have been perfect if we started on the first beat. So I came down the C major scale. No half steps. And then I ended on the 4 of the B flat 7. And I came down a chord. And then I hit the major third of the B flat 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Not the prettiest phrase in the world, but I just want to show you that that's what you can do. Maybe let's put a half step in and see what that sounds like. Okay, that's another little thing that sometimes people do. I'll show you. 1, 2, 3, 4. So sometimes besides B flat 7, Franz Elson used to talk about this with Barry too, which is this F minor, he doesn't see as having a minor 7th. He likes to see it as having a major 7. So he likes to hear this sound. There it is. So he likes that sound. That's a nice phrase actually. 1, 2, 3. But probably triplets would be nicer with it. Let's see. That's nice. 2. Let's see. Nice phrases. But this is how you're supposed to tackle playing a movement. You say, I really have to know my C major things. I really have to know, you know. So anything that you normally practice, triads, let's try Barry's chromatic scale. So let's say 1, 2, let's do the chromatic scale, which for those of you who don't know, it's in one of the episodes earlier, and it's labeled Barry's chromatic scale. So let's say Barry's chromatic scale. Let's try it from the 5, which would be. So let's try that. 1, let's see what we do after that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, so let's see. So all I did was, and once I got to the tonic, then I played the 4 of the B flat 7. So. So now, again, triads, playing a chord up. What if we played a chord up from the 3? Let's see. we did a chord up from the 3 of the C major. And then when we came down, when we got down to the 5th, we thought of that as the 6th of the B flat 7, so we came down a chord. Let's see. So we put in 1/2 step between 6 and 5. So again, taking C major and practicing things at B flat 7. Let's do some half steps for B flat 7. Let's say, or maybe we'll do a prettier one than that. Let's see. Let's try so I started my half steps from the 3 of the B flat 7. And I surrounded the 3 of the C major. So I said, so that was 1/2 step between tonic and 7 of B flat 7. But see, these are just, this is the reason that you have to know all the previous things and all the previous episodes that we worked on, is because once you get those in your fingers, now it starts to come alive in your hand. Now you say, okay, now I can start to run one thing into the next thing. Now some of those phrases are not the greatest thing in the world, but those are mine. Or there's something that's influenced by somebody else, and it's all influenced by Charlie Parker and Bud Powell and of course Barry, but this is my creation that I'm trying to come up with. Now maybe Barry's played some of those, or maybe Bud Powell's played some of those, but I'm really trying to keep it to just things that I like to do. Same thing for you. That's what I want everybody who's watching these videos to be able to do. That's why his method, I feel like, is the greatest method. It's because it allows me to know the same information as you, yet if we played together, we would come up with totally different phrases, and we could play all day and play totally different things and not play Charlie Parker licks or Bud Powell licks. We could play our own licks, things that we've worked on, things that we've checked out. That's very important. Now, just to close, you could also play, let's see, there's another song that does 1 to 4 minor, which would be in, what is that called? Lady Bird. Now that's a little bit longer. That's C major for 2 measures, and then F minor 7 for a measure, B flat 7 for a measure. So now you have twice as long to mess around with C major and then running into F minor or running into B flat 7. So that's a whole other thing for you to think of now in your head. Oh, okay, now I have 2 measures of each thing. So maybe we'll talk about that in a future episode, but that's longer. So you got 2 measures of C major and 2 measures of F minor 7. Anyway, I hope this episode was helpful. Enjoy practicing your 1 to 4 minor. I hope to make a few more within the next couple of weeks. Anyway, thanks again. Appreciate it.